There is a lot more that this administration can do, starting with using the same logic that it used to stop the Keystone XL pipeline, to stop all further expansion of fossil fuel infrastructure, to stop the exports of crude oil. There's any number of things they can do. Declare a climate emergency that gives them certain budgetary powers as well. My work is trying to get the US to pay climate finance to developing countries. The Biden administration said, oh, we're going to give $11 billion a year by 2024. It's about what the Department of Defense spends in 5 or 6 days, right? And so if you're limited in what you think is possible by these minuscule amounts of resources that we're willing to commit to public goods, to social goods, then sure. But why would we do that to ourselves? The Pentagon budget is $750 billion a year, right? That is the budget for the Pentagon for the next fiscal year. We have what we call the fair shares analysis, which looks at different countries' historical emissions and national wealth, and then kind of calculates what each country's fair share of climate action should be. And from that, we found that the US needs to do the equivalent of reducing our emissions by 195% by 2030 from 2005 levels. That's obviously not possible. Like, we're not talking about massive geoengineering or negative emissions. And so what that means in practice would be 70% emissions reductions, at least domestically, by 2030. A down payment on the US fair share would be something like $800 billion by 2030. Now, you say that number and people immediately say, oh, that's crazy. But then I'll go back to my Pentagon example, right? That's just a little bit, we're asking for just a little bit more over the next 9 years than what the Pentagon is getting in fiscal year 2022. There's a hunger strike going on in front of the White House right now that the Sunrise Movement is organizing. And I think people are starting to realize that we need a fundamental change in our government if we're to win the policies that the world needs.